Okay. Kieran McGuire here with Boston Bants, and I'm very happy to be joined with Thomas, the Bomber Carty. Thomas,
That's the one.
Yeah. Thomas, I said that because I know, number one, you like to be called Thomas, not Tomo. Am I right in saying that?
Good man.
I got that from the podcast there last week. I was listening to that.
Yeah, everybody calls me Tomo, but the name, I don't know, it came from my mates. Like it didn't come from me.
Yeah, and then obviously the Bomber. Have you always? Has that name always been around with you?
I was called that from a child. Yeah, from the baby. Like that's what I was called, the Bomber. That's what my uncles and dad would have called me. Yeah.
So first of all, to start off, so some people during the pandemic, the career is kind of either stagnated or they've been kept busy, and some people have just kind of catapulted themselves forward. Like Caitlin Feenan would be one of them. And for you, even though you didn't have any fights during the pandemic, it was actually a really, really productive year for you. For you, do you want to start off? Do you want to start off first? You were thinking of hanging around in the amateurs, and then you were training, if I'm right in saying, during lockdown, and then you got a call. Do you want to just talk to us about that?
Yeah, so in lockdown, I was obviously, nobody was boxing in the first lockdown. There's no coaches, even, there's people doing these undercover sessions the last while, during lockdowns, but there was none of that even in the first one. So me and the little brother just said he boxes as well. Liam is my little brother. He's 16 now. We thought we were going to get like 6 weeks in the first lockdown. So we said we'd train together every day, twice a day, and see just so we could get in better shape because there was nothing else to do. And we kept training away. We're doing boxing together, doing more kind of conditioning stuff, trying to get fit, you know what I mean? And then obviously the lockdowns were dragging on. I remember I got a call one day, or a text from a coach in England asking if I'd be interested in sparring with Chisora. It's actually a guy I beat one of his boxers in the Haringey Box Cup years ago. So that's where he knows me from. And he is involved with Chisora as far as I know. He texted me, and then I said, yeah, no, absolutely, sounds good. And thought nothing of it then. Was still training away throughout the lockdown, getting in better shape and that, but thought nothing of the text really. I said, he's not bothering getting in touch, or he must have found somebody else, or obviously like I must not be, you know what I mean, on their radar at all. And then I got an email then in late August to come over in September, October for the Usyk fight then, to take part in the camp. So I've done 5 weeks over there with Chisora then in October, and that kind of that was like a big move then for me, because that catapulted everything. Everybody was talking about me then after the camp, and I was getting asked to more camps here, there and everywhere, and there's more attention and exposure then,
Yeah, and it must have been somewhat daunting for you, because it's not like you had been around pros like that. Do you know what I mean? Like you were a top level amateur, but you hadn't fought over whatever three rounds, and these were
3 rounds. Yeah.
These were fully like Derek Chisora is a fully grown man, arguably probably in the best shape of his life. Like, and for you, was that really daunting at the start? But you were like, look, it's a great opportunity, and I'm just going to take it with both hands.
Yeah, like to be honest, I didn't even think of it in that sense, because I would always rank, like in my own head, I ranked myself really, really highly.
Yeah,
like I know how good I am and how good I can be, and the level I belong at. So going over, I was just a case of, I said, right, this is a massive opportunity, so I'm just going to try and take as much out of it as I can. And if I last 2 days, well, it's 2 days of experience in the bag. But 5 weeks there lasted longer than I lasted the whole camp. You know what I mean? And was used in every spar and that. So obviously they've seen something as well. If a guy is fighting Usyk, which is arguably, you know what I mean, the dark horse of the heavyweight division, one of the best fighters on the planet, if they were keeping me on board sparring with him for this fight, that obviously shows what level of skill I have myself,
Were you well aware going over there? Does Derek's camps have a reputation for like if you're not good enough after a couple of days, you go home. Were you kind of aware of that going over, or is that actually what he would usually do?
Yeah, no, well aware of that. Yeah, so basically, there's guys there, and if like I seen, for example, a couple of like obviously I was brought over from Ireland, but some English guys are brought in early on in camp, and they do one round, they get out, they say right, now enough. His coaches say no, enough, or whatever. He would never make the decision like his coaches would. They'd say right, that's enough, out of the ring, and then they wouldn't be used again for that sparring. Then you wouldn't see them again; they'd be gone.
Must have been a massive confidence booster the longer you were there over the weeks.
Yeah, like I'm not saying it was easy. It definitely wasn't easy sparring. You know, it was really, really hard. But I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? And it really brought the best out of me. It was a confidence booster afterwards. Even like now, I say to myself, you know, I'm getting in sparring with guys and saying, I was in with Chisora. You know what I mean? I've nothing to be worried about here. You know.
What would you say?
Without being complacent?
Yeah. What would you say was the biggest eye opener in that time, in those few weeks?
People ask me this all the time, like what was different, or what was the biggest difference and stuff like that. The intensity. There's no secret to it. Like they don't do anything that is not done here, or they don't do anything I've never seen before. It's just the intensity of everything they do from start to finish. You know, even warming up. You know, there's intent all the time on what they're doing. There's no like the way I explained it to some people was, sometimes I would think of boxing as a sport, and I really like the sport and stuff like that. To them, it's everything. It's their life. It's how they pay their bills. It's how they feed their kids. So that's how it's different. It's the intensity.
Yeah. And I can imagine you leaving that camp, you were probably the fittest you've ever been. Yeah,
like I was crazy fit going into it, but I wasn't necessarily boxing fit, like, because I hadn't sparred anybody. Well, actually, no, I was doing a small bit of sparring. I was sparring your man Johnny Walker from the UFC before I went over, but apart from that, nothing.
Yeah, and how did
but I was really fit. I was physically really fit, but like, as you know, you need to be boxing fit as well. So, but I was, by the end of that camp, I was the fittest I've ever been.
And from that, you had moved up to Lawrence Okolie's camp, but if I'm right in saying that came from phone calls and whatnot that was given as good information, good compliments from you from that camp. How did that work out in the end of you going to Okolie's camp?
So what happened was, obviously Chisora was fighting Usyk, which is a southpaw, and then Lawrence Okolie, which is a good friend of Chisora's, is also fighting a southpaw for a world title, which should have been in December. So I would know Okolie as well anyways. I would have sparred in 2016 before the Rio Olympics. They were on a camp here in Ireland, so I would have sparred him then. We would have followed each other on Instagram and known of each other anyways. But towards the end of the camp, Derek had finished up sparring, and I would say Derek finished on a Monday. I was going home on the Friday or whatever. On the Thursday, they had arranged for all of our sparring partners, all of Derek's sparring partners, to spar Okolie. So it was like 4 or 5 of us, I think. And we also, it was like me, Lemroy Thomas, Brian Jennings, and another English kid, I can't remember his name. Ezra Taylor, I think his name was, cruiserweight guy. And after that spar, then he immediately came over and approached me and said he'd love to have me in camp with him. It was a good spar actually that day, because everybody was watching David Hay, Chisora, they were all watching the whole team. Remind you of like the Mayweather gym or something like that. But they approached me and asked me to go over then to Okolie's camp. They didn't actually want me to go home, but I had been in England for 5 weeks. I wanted to come home for a week or two, get new clothes and stuff like that. I was running out of clothes, and got back over then.
Yeah.
Which is what I did. Then I came home for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and went back.
Yeah. From thinking now how David Hayes changed things for Derek, but David obviously worked under Shane McGuigan for a while, and Shane McGuigan is renowned for how tough his camps are. Not in a bad way, like, but they challenge you massively, like. Was there a massive difference for you between the two camps?
Yeah, there was. I can say there was. Like, me and Chisora got on very well, but we stayed in like different. I stayed in like really nice hotel. He put me up in a really, really good hotel, and so we would spar, say, twice, 3 times a week max. And apart from that, unless he was like bringing me off for the day somewhere, you wouldn't really see him. Whereas the camp with Shane, then I actually stayed with me and Okolie lived together. So we lived together for 5 weeks in the same house, which was, it was good, you know. You build up like kind of a bond and that. It's really good. Then, you know, you get to know the person more and stuff like that, and you became more of a friend. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And
in terms of the training being different, I did a lot more sessions as part of the team with Okolie than I did with Chisora.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand what you mean there. Yeah, it's more of a kind of like a team environment kind of thing. Like Klitschko, like Klitschko was renowned for, apparently he'd have everyone having a basketball game with the first day, everyone to bond, and it'd be very much kind of together. But when you when you were with Okolie in that time, like some people say that's some of the best information you'll ever get. Were you picking his brain about certain things, and what was the one thing you took away from it?
One thing I took away from him is his mentality is like bulletproof. You know what I mean? Nothing phases him. Nothing really matters apart from the stuff that matters. You know what I mean? So everything external doesn't really matter apart from your goal and what you're striving to do. So nothing, you know what I mean? Like, I could tell you a million stories. You're not supposed to carry stories from camp, but like a million things happened in camp. Nothing phased him towards the end goal, which was the fight. Now, ultimately, it didn't happen. And I was asked back again, he fought a late replacement because of COVID, but Glowacki got COVID. But ultimately, in the next camp, then he was even better and more on form. And so was I, actually. I was better in the second camp as well.
Mm-hmm.
So sparring was a lot more intense the second time around.
Mm-hmm. So at that time, I can imagine there was lots of different offers coming from you, management-wise and promotion-wise, from the UK and Ireland and abroad. When did it come down to you were like, right, like what was it that made you go, right, this is it now, I need to turn over?
Because it was very difficult, the amount of people that showed interest and the amount of people that were coming with offers and talking and stuff like that. But ultimately, you need to make a decision yourself and what's best for you and where you think you will be in somebody's priorities and how you think you will be used. Like, because boxing is a business. Like, at the end of it, professional boxing is a business more than it's a sport, to be honest. And anybody will tell you that. So you need to make a conscious decision for your own best interest and your own path, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a weird one. I'm from Dublin. I've no family. I've no English family. And not that I would want to ever box for a British title. I definitely don't. But I'm not eligible to box. You know, usually people start off, they go for like an area title in England, then a British title, Commonwealth title, European, then world title. That's Okolie's path there. I wouldn't be eligible to box for the first two, British or Commonwealth. So the progression in England is very different to the progression in the States, for example. You know, so that's the reason I chose that route there.
Would you? You don't have to if you don't want to know, but could you tell a couple of people in the UK maybe that were interested?
Yeah, I'm not really going to get into it too much, but you obviously seen the camps I was in. They wouldn't have been random offers, you know what I mean, or random interest from other camps. It was the people I was working with and they would see me fighting and sparring, you know. Like playing with So I've been playing with the idea for a long time.
Yeah.
I've been playing with the idea for a long time, but then I was also considering, you know, Olympic qualification, and I was always chasing Olympic qualification. Was always there in my head, you know what I mean? So it was a difficult decision to make. It's been a really difficult year in terms of decisions. Like, it was a massive decision to make, to pack everything in, to do the amateurs and turn pro. But I definitely made the right decision for me, anyways, and at the right time as well, because things happen at the right time, regardless. They happen when they're supposed to happen.
Yeah. Because am I right in you were training up in Belfast? I won't say where, like, but you were training in Belfast for a while, and you were considering then that's. I think one of
I would have been speaking to a couple of people up there. All right,
So Packie, you're in the Celtic Warriors gym. Obviously Niall Kennedy's there, Eric Donovan, Ray Moyle, lots of lads. Lots of lads. Very, very good boxers in the country. Spike, yeah, of course. How could I miss out on Spike? And you, how did it come down to Packie?
So what happened was I've always trained in Pascal as an amateur. Even I would have boxed out of Crumlin, but I would have trained with my coach Raj out of Celtic Warrior, and would have known Pascal a long time. Would have sparred with Niall Kennedy through the years and stuff like that. So we would have known each other a long time. And Pascal, as we've always spoken, you know what I mean, been on really, really good terms. And throughout the last year, he's acted as my advisor. Never really did too much, no training with him or anything like that. We would have trained in the same facility. Like, it's his gym, Pascal owns the gym, you know what I mean? But he would have been acting as sort of my advisor. And, you know, boxing has some really bad people and some really good people as well. And Pascal has always kind of helped me out for absolutely nothing. You know, he had no end goal, wasn't coaching me as such, forcing anything upon me. So, but I knew the option was there. We had spoken about it before a long time ago. So I just through being there, he was helping me with, you know, I was getting offers off some people, and I was telling Pascal, so what do you think? And he was coming back and he's giving me the pros and cons of everything. And it just so happened then that we ended up working something out between ourselves then, with an American promoter, Murphy's, Ken Casey and Murphy's Boxing. So that's what happened there. Mm-hmm. Basically, he was acting as an advisor through the whole thing, and I just felt like I could really trust him, and that's invaluable, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you felt like he had your best interest at heart. Yeah. When you look at that, was the pathway that you're looking to do, like you said, you don't want to go to the UK and whatnot. And Niall Kennedy is someone who not mostly, but he's fought abroad on US shows, and kind of built a fan base in Boston with the American Irish. Is that very much the route that you'd like to go?
That's more or less the exact route I want to start off with anyways. I would have family in Boston. I have a lot of family in Boston, and some of them are involved in the police and stuff like that over there. So I would have a massive fan base to begin with anyways. So I would very much like to start my career off there, and progress on further from there then, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So for someone in your position, someone who was aiming to go to the Olympics, obviously your end goal is the very, very top, like. So for someone in your position, especially with the offers you're getting, would you be interested in fighting domestically for an Irish title before you move on to European ranking belts and whatnot? Is that something that you would ever, in your mind, you'd be interested in doing?
To be honest, probably not. Like, not that I wouldn't, but who is there to beat? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like in heavyweight, there is a very small pool in Irish boxing, definitely.
Yeah, you know what I mean? No, so probably not. I think if I'm right in saying, I don't know whether it's a Celtic title, Irish title, or I don't know which one it is, but the last person to hold it as a professional was Tyson Fury. I'd like to win that one. That's the next one. That's the only one I would fight for, but I need to check out the history on it. I'm not too sure which one it is.
It's the legit Irish one, yeah.
Oh well, then I would, yeah, just purely for the history of it. Definitely, I would like to fight for that one. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think people. I say this to a lot of boxers as well, who sometimes they think of maybe stepping over, which there's nothing wrong with doing that, but it's something that you'll always have. And when you look at the names that have had it, like Packie's brothers had it, Andy Lee's had it, Matt Macklin, Jamie Moore, Frankie Gavin, Tyson Fury, like some really, really like big names like in the history of the country, like, you know. So I suppose it's nice in that aspect, from a nostalgia point of view, you know. But look, the setting has to be right, doesn't it? You have to have a dance partner.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, I'm not going to go calling people out because there's no one that I even want to call out. You know what I mean? I would very much so like to call somebody out if there was somebody there that I thought, oh, that'd be an interesting fight. People might like to see that, but I don't see anybody. You know what I mean? I think there would have to be someone really good coming behind me to make me call somebody out or to even consider it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Now, the first show for your debut was announced not too long ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago for a show in Belgium, if I'm right in saying. And it was a lot of you lads from the gym. Spike was headline. Now, am I right in saying that? So, from what I read on Ray Moylet's page, it's not going ahead, or is that him individually, or is it the show in general?
So the show in Belgium is not going ahead, and it's not going ahead anymore.
Right.
But I do have a bit of an exclusive. If you want me to give you the exclusive.
Oh yeah, I always love them. Yeah, I love them.
So I'm making my debut then on the undercard of Eric Donovan in Milan on the 14th of May.
Right. Okay. 14th of May. Yeah. I was wondering, you know what? Because I was thinking to myself, I said, the show wasn't going ahead, but you were still really grafting and working away. And I said, Tomo must be fighting somewhere else. I said, he must be, Yeah, you just
well, it's 90% there. Just confirming the last couple of details, but opponents has confirmed on that. You know what I mean? So we're ready to go. I could fight tomorrow, or I could have fought last week. So whenever it is, doesn't really bother me.
Yeah. I imagine with that show being postponed, though, I imagine you're still going to be on it when it does happen, or if it does happen. I imagine that's still the plan.
Yeah, like just because Pascal's acting as my trainer and my manager now, and the one thing that I said to him was that I want to be as busy as possible, so I want to get as many fights in as possible because I don't get hit too much. You know what I mean? I don't take up much damage. Touch wood. And I'm looking to kick on fast, you know what I mean? So I don't want to be hanging around 2 fights a year. I want probably 6, 5, 6 fights before the new year.
Yeah. And I think as well that show would have been good because you got a UFC fight pass on it and stuff like that. It would have been quite good exposure actually for a lot of you. But yeah. So it's interesting though, like how are you feeling turnover during these times? Like you look at some of the lads in O'Rourke's gym, a lot of them have had like 4 pro fights now, but none of them have been in front of crowds, and it's a very different turning over process to someone else who, let's just say, for example, Owen O'Neill, when he turned pro, it was all Clifton fans in the stadium. How did you feel about that, like making your debut, no crowds of that? I can't imagine it would affect you too much, would it?
No, it doesn't affect me. It's a bit of a stinker, all right. Like I bring hundreds of fans especially for my debut. If it was in Ireland, you can bet that there'd be hundreds there. I have a massive following here in Dublin and across the country, so there would be loads. I know for a fact if it was my debut, if it was somewhere that people could travel to, but it doesn't make too much of a difference. The fights for crowds will come, no big deal, and it's good to get a couple under the belt before it does happen because considering the amount of people that may be there to support me, it'd be good to have the first couple under the belt,
Mm-hmm. Are you kind of glad that when you look at, like, Packie has so many links to other people within the game, abroad, overseas, like the lads have fought on so many different variant of cards, like he has so many good relationships with different people. And when you think back to those offers that you had before, you could have been involved, let's just say, with being on Sky shows and things like that. When you look at Eddie moving over to the zone, essentially, now we don't know the full story, obviously. Do you feel kind of it was destiny? Like it was that's a sign saying to you, yeah, you're in the right place. Like,
yeah, I get you. Like the thing that I found, I'm not bad mouthing anybody here either. The thing that I found is the more people you speak to in boxing, these big promoters and stuff like that aren't the be all and end all when you're starting out. Like people think, oh, Sky Sports massive money. Jesus, I buy a gas in my first fucking 3 fights, but it's not like that at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
people
only
have a misconception when it comes to it. You know.
Mm-hmm. It's only the very small percentage, like the Packie Collins getting big sign-on fees and things like that. But it's very, very, very small.
Yeah.
And he was like an enigma because he didn't actually have a medal. Well, he should have got a medal, but he didn't have a medal. But usually it's like a gold medalist who's getting these massive sign-on fees, like Luke Campbell and people like that. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Lastly, I was going to say to you, do you have any idea about your first opponent yet, or just no idea at the moment?
We have a first opponent. Yeah, I have a couple of options there of opponents. I have one guy that's confirmed. You know, I'm not too sure what his name is or his record, but I've seen a video of him, and it'd be a good fight. I'm not one that wants these guys that are just going to jump on the deck as soon as you hit them. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's crazy. Ireland.
There's no glory in hitting. You know, there's no kind of. You don't get a buzz out of hitting somebody that's going to jump on the deck. You want someone that's actually going to try and fight.
Mm-hmm. Do you must feel like that there's a real gap there for you in the market in Ireland, because it's been a long time, if ever, that Ireland have had a heavyweight that's a knockout artist, and something that you said that you want to bring to.
Yeah. Like,
do you think there's a massive gap there for you?
I don't. Huge gap, yeah. I don't want to start throwing bouquets at myself and stuff like that, but I can just see, you know, Ireland have been crying out for someone to jump on board and follow in the heavyweight division, and I think, you know, it's going to work really well. I think I already have a massive following, and it's only going to be even bigger and bigger when people see what I can do.
Mm-hmm. Because you know the type of following that you could bring in Ireland, once you're that type of person who ends fights early, and it's very interesting to watch. You can bring casuals, people who will not watch any of the undercard, but they'll come to watch your fight at the end, you know, and that's a totally different audience.
That's it, yeah.
It's a totally different audience you bring.
Yeah, no, this is the thing. This is why I want to. This is why I'm turning over now. I want to get a couple of fights under my belt now, so that when the crowds are back, we can hit the ground running with a couple of hundred people coming from Dublin to watch me wherever, you know.
Yeah, exciting times ahead. Thomas, I want to say thanks very much for your time, especially this late. I really appreciate it, taking time out of your day. I know you're a busy man, but looking forward to.
Jay's no problem at all, bro.
In the next fight, so seeing you getting your first win and seeing Eric Donovan winning the European Union belt.
The European title, yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. Right, thanks very much, Thomas.